Trump clearly does not want more information coming out about everything that Jeffrey Epstein did and the things that he did also with this lady, Ghislaine Maxwell. She is the only person alive that's out there, or in prison, I guess theoretically, at least for now, that knows what actually happened. And she's serving 20 years for recruiting and trafficking minors for sex. I remind everyone of that, just in case she's pardoned, so that you know exactly how horrific it is. But yesterday we reported that she's making these moves to try to start to get some leniency from different groups. So she made her list of demands for the House Oversight Committee before she testified before them. She wants a grant of formal immunity, presumably for the things she would say during that testimony. She doesn't want it to happen at the correctional facility where she's serving her sentence. She also, by the way, wants the questions in advance. I don't understand why you'd need that if you're planning on being honest, and she only wants the interview to be scheduled after the resolution of her Supreme Court petition and her forthcoming habeas petition. So that's already a lot of demands for one of the biggest monsters currently alive in America. But that's what she's asking for when it comes to Congress. Now, at the same time, it was reported earlier today that she was moved, not to like Congress to go testify, but she was moved from her low security facility in Florida to a minimum security federal prison camp in Texas. So she's been moved, not to DC, not to near the White House or near Mar-a-Lago or whatever, but to Texas. And this is a place in Bryan, Texas that houses only women. Majority of its inmates are serving time for non-violent offenses and white-collar crimes. Of course, she committed violent offenses, so she doesn't really seem to fit in based on what she did. And the Bureau of Prisons didn't specify why she was being transferred. Now, I have seen some people speculate that because she's now cooperating with the DOJ, she could be under some sort of threat from other inmates for being seen to be working with law enforcement or something like that. That potentially could be the explanation. Maybe there are others, but I think a lot of people see this as one step closer to Donald Trump pulling the trigger, no matter how suspicious it would look if he were to do so, and just pardon her, nullify her, get her to testify, throw a few nobodies under the bus, say that Trump never did anything, and in exchange, she could be at brunch on Tuesday.
Yeah, so instantly there are new theories out, okay? Because, I mean, look, seriously, biggest groomer in American history. She also participated in a lot of the sex acts, i.e. the rape, okay? And so to move her to minimum security is unconscionable. Let's say she was an undocumented immigrant that had been involved in the rape of hundreds of underage girls in America. Do you think we'd move her to minimum security? No, we would demagogue the hell out of that person, et cetera.
South Sudan.
Yeah, right, or dungeon in some country, El Salvador, et cetera. So now I'm gonna go to some of our members here. Boomer Dragon Cat said these are on TYT.com. You could become a member there too, be part of the show. She said, my latest theory, Ghislaine will walk away from the minimum security prison, jump on a prearranged jet out of the country, saving Trump from having to pardon her. So, yeah, I don't know. You know that there's a theory, I hadn't even seen this until 2 weeks ago, and all the conspiracy theorists or professional theorists, right, will say like, Cenk, you're such a rookie, and I am, okay, that Epstein was never killed. He's, that, oh my God, he was killed or hung himself, et cetera. We can't show you the body, obviously, and so but trust us, bro, right? Now, I think that is deeply unlikely because the autopsy, et cetera, et cetera. But what that does is, when you suppress evidence in a way that is so obvious, it forces people to come up with theories as to what actually happened, because you won't tell us what's true. So in this case though, Kat, I think that I hear what you're saying, but if I was Ghislaine Maxwell, I would be a little like, like you think you're happy to move to minimum security, and you are. Tommy Chong has been in a minimum security prison. I interviewed him. His cellmate was the Wolf of Wall Street. It was a really interesting interview. He was so unjustly imprisoned for selling marijuana paraphernalia. So ridiculous, right? But he did tell me about his experience. He's like, oh, the minimum security prisons are gorgeous. It's like we played tennis all day. It was like a getaway. I almost had fun. Okay, and he wrote a book In fact, he convinced the Wolf of Wall Street guy to write the book, which then got turned into the movie. So on the one hand, I get it. She's gonna be like, oh great, I'm back in the semi-country club.
She's doing yoga and Pilates. It's a prison camp, and she does yoga and Pilates.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So, but if I was her, I'd be careful about the cameras. I'd be like, wait a minute, are the cameras in the hallway working? Right? Because a minimum security prison is minimum security. So be careful what you ask for. Okay, and then one last one here. Stiff Upper Lip said, I have a question. What if it's worse than just Donnie having relations with a young girl? That is not an impossibility. What if the file/videos show something else? I'm not sure what's worse. Although I do have a theory on what Trump might think is worse. He might be less worried about that. I mean, remember, he's a guy who thinks he could kill someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. He might be more worried that people are going to see him naked. I mean, if you think that is not something that Donald Trump's ego would be greatly bothered by, and that he might think that that's even worse than getting caught on in a crime, come on, have you seen Trump's ego? But anyways, we don't know that, and that's not important. What's important is they're obviously lying to you, and now they've taken the one accomplice and moved her to minimum security.
And this, what else is interesting here? This is the only person I remember Donald Trump being afraid of, and he is terrified of Ghislaine Maxwell right now. I mean, he knows.
He wished her well.
Right, that's true. Never mind. Just kidding. We cut that because he did wish her well, so that must mean that he's not.
No. But that might be evidence.
Of course, I'm saying
he's nice to the people he's scared of.
He's terrified of.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I really, this person really has him in a place that no political opponent and no one else I've seen certainly has had Donald Trump. And that's an interesting dynamic from a purely voyeuristic point of view.
I think you earlier in the show said you were worried that you might be giving him advice on how to lie better. I think you accidentally gave him an out on this entire thing. I think he comes out, he's like, you know what, I've been evasive, I can't do that anymore, I want to be clear and upfront. Here are the files, but I do have to tell you, it's just littered with pictures of me naked. And then what are we gonna do?
I want to know what's in there.
I'm not looking.
Yeah, right.
The story just fades away.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.